I hope we'll see in the future many times.
Thank you very much. Even that's not something.
Gospod Štern bo predaval v angleščini, verjetno ga večina od vas tudi razume, ampak imamo gospoda Boštjana, ki bo vse skupaj prevajal v slovenščino. Hvala vam, so please.
Thank you very much. First of all, good morning. Thank you for coming. Thanking your teachers. I don't know who's teacher. Everyone looks so young.
Thank you.
For bringing you here. In fact, I believe that school in the morning should always start with a movie. I think this would be much more fascinating if in the morning you can see the moving images, you can see something that relates to your feelings, your emotions, your experiences, that relates to what you're learning at school, because the moving images, film, movies, there are kind of the eye of our century, the eye of the last century, and through movies you learn about others, but you also learn about yourself. Everyone learns about oneself through the movies. Now I have to stop because I have a serious second voice. Now, what will we do? I have 4 very short films, because I believe that the art of film today is also the art of short films. Moving pictures more than 100 years ago, in fact at the end of the 18th century, started with very, very short films. And today, many young filmmakers all over the world, with the new technology, digital cameras, are able, even with your handies, you are able to make short films. And this is extremely important, because this has changed. Everyone can become a filmmaker. Not everyone can become a good filmmaker, but everyone can become a filmmaker. And this is something we have to use in education, in school, at universities, to have, for instance, film projects, coming together, researching something, but not just researching on paper, but looking through the eye of the camera onto reality and trying to grasp, to catch something of this reality. And sometimes if you go to an old building here in Ljubljana and you ask yourself, who was living there? What was going on in this building, let's say 100 years ago, 200 years ago? What is the stone? These stones, buildings, they are history, but there are also images, you see them. And very often when you ask yourself, what do I know? What is the Brandenburg Gate? What is the Statue of Liberty? What is Israel? You have images in your head. And the major things you know, you believe you know, or you learn to know, you learn through images. And that's one of the reasons why film is so extremely important. And when it comes to history, then you ask yourself, well, haven't I seen a film? Even such a film, I don't know whether you've seen it, like X-Men or Shutter Island. Very popular films always have images of history. I know about pupils in other countries who have never seen anything about the Holocaust, but they saw X-Men First Class. These were the first images they ever saw about the Holocaust, about the camps of annihilation, the selection. So it's very important also in education, in school, universities, to deal with popular culture, to deal with films, not just to film oneself, but to deal what's existing. If you just look now at the Oscar nominations, many films have historical subjects. It goes from the film Carol, about a lesbian relationship. It goes through The Son of Shaul, the camps of extermination, which will be shown in Ljubljana tonight. And I could talk for hours about films that deal with history, that deal with the Balkans, that deal with socialism, that deal with periods long past. For instance, in the last few days I saw a few images about the girl from the Kosovo fields. And I was smiling because I know the story, although I've never lived on the Balkans, I know the story from films. So sometimes your knowledge about history is coming from film. I want to show you 4 short films
produced, filmed by young filmmakers. Just a few years older than you may be, but they, so to say, in school or at university, or even outside university, decided, I want to make films. I have something to tell my family, my friends, to a larger audience, and if this film will be shown in movie theaters or on TV or little festivals, I will be happy. And these 4 films, they begin in early 45, and then we move up to today. That means I'm trying to show you films that deal with history, but that deal with us today. History is not something that's back then, but history is something we are living in. We are a part of history. And so one has to do a shift in our head. Sometimes in school you learn, well, history is the past. And I say, no, history is a present. And particularly if we talk about the 20th century, if we talk about World War II, if we talk about the Holocaust, it's not the past. Something was happening back then, but it's also today. It's today because we have to think about it. We have to think about what does it mean? What does discrimination mean? What does migration mean? Fleeing from certain areas of terror to other countries, not being allowed to enter. These are questions of today, but this is also past experience of the 1930s and 1940s in Europe. And so the younger generation of filmmakers is not just depicting the past, but it's asking, what does this past, what does history mean for us in our present time? And after the translation, we will begin with the first film from France in the period when France was occupied by the Wehrmacht, by the German army, which began after the beginning of World War II, 1939, 1 year later. But between 1933, when the Nazis came to power in Germany, and the discrimination of the Jewish population began, many Jewish families fled to France. Austria, the Balkans, Yugoslavia also, Italy was fascist, but Italy also was a place like France, which was democratic, where Jewish families from Germany could go. And we'll see this short film, German Jewish father with his daughter has fled to Paris, but now in Paris, the Germans, after occupation of France, they also begin to deport not just the French Jewish families to the camps in the east, but also those they could get from Germany and Austria who sought to find shelter in France. Man kann die Geschichte in einem abendfüllenden Spielfilm 1,5 Stunden erzählen.
English.
Oh, I'm sorry. My father was talking German and I switched in my head immediately wherever I am to the language I hear last. So one could produce this film as a full film evening, 1.5 hours. Or you can think about, what is my message? What would I like to tell those who will see the film? And you make 5 to 8 minutes. And this, I mean, this already has a lot of expensive production surroundings and post-production, but you can do it on a level of student and pupil without budget. I know because my students in Vienna, instead of writing papers, they produce small films. And this is possible. Now, back to the film. The granddaughter of Suzanne is a film director of this film, Mona Achache. And they have a double name, Achache Wisnitzer. So the real person, her father, is not just a fictional person. It's a fictional film, of course, but it's a kind of showing what was going on then to thousands and thousands. If Mona would know that she knows by the time that I'm showing this film to you, she's extremely proud. Because this is a 5-minute film. You can't get it into a big movie theater usually, except for a festival or an event like this. The French are very conscious of film, of movies, of consciousness, of knowledge, and they have produced this small film on a DVD. And for €5 in France, you can buy this DVD. So through the DVD, again, many people can see this film. But basically, it's a film for education. It's a film that we have to use when working with you, that your teachers should use. And you will see through the course of our meeting here that also the other films, they add. And the most important thing, I believe, concerning this film is it begins in a certain situation, a historical experience, and it moves on till today. Because the victims of the Holocaust, they never forget. Forgetting is more a problem for those who were not directly smitten, concerned victims of the Holocaust. And so it's very important that grandchildren tell stories of their families. And this should also kind of give you to think about, well, maybe there is a story in my family I would like to tell. It doesn't have to be always related to the Holocaust, but it can be related to the war period, to the post-war period. I'm pretty sure that some of your grandparents were active as partisans. Maybe there's some family who was hiding a Jewish family. Who knows? Yeah? Go into your own film and family history, ask questions you have never asked, and you will be astonished about two things. The answers you will get and the silence you will experience. And then you have to go into the silence. Now, I know it's difficult. Sorry. Yeah, oh, sorry. Yeah, okay. I didn't know I talked so long. Well, we are going to see the second film. I'm taking you from Paris, France, under German occupation, to the year 1945 to Budapest. It's 1945, let's say the end, towards the end of the Nazi Empire and towards the end of the rule of the arrow and cross fascists in Hungary. So it's early January 1945 in Budapest, and we are moving to the banks of the Danube.
Drugi film, zdaj se bomo preselili iz Pariza v Budimpešto, in sicer se film dogaja zgodaj januarja 1945, torej proti koncu nemške okupacije in fašistične okupacije oziroma nacistične okupacije na Madžarskem, gremo torej na bregove Donave.
I think I don't have to explain when I said past, history is not past, history is today. And things are related. You can't say, well, just let's talk about the past. It doesn't concern us. It has nothing to do with us. No, it has. And Andras Salomon, the director of this film, would only produce this film with the help of his family, meaning those who had survived and believed that he should tell the story. And tell you, it's not by chance that I choose two films where we have two women and their experience of the Holocaust. Because I think we should talk much more about the female experience, the experience of women during the World War, during the Holocaust, and after. What were their experiences they survived in our societies after 1945? And this is young girl, and then this wonderful idea of having her walking through the decades from 1945 until today. And today we are on a point when we have thousands and thousands of skinheads, when we have right-wing movements, all extremist, racist, discriminating movements all over Europe, not just in one specific country. It's no longer a German problem. It's a problem, it's a European problem. You have it here in Slovenia. We have the revival of all these old symbols. You know what's happening in Hungary? You saw the symbol, the arrow cross. The Ustasha would say the same. And all these symbols coming back. If you go to a soccer game, we yesterday had a wonderful lecture about this. If you look at graffiti in the streets, you'll find all these old racist, nationalistic, militaristic symbols, and it's kind of something exactly in the soccer field's place, seducing a young generation. Very often, the pupils of your age won't know what do these symbols mean. And that's something, of course, you have to deal with your teachers, or the teachers have to deal with you to explain these symbols, the contents of these symbols. Now, very often you buy a T-shirt and there's something on it. Let's say a skull. But what does it mean? It means Waffen-SS. It means extermination. It means murder. I forgot to say, whenever you have a question what you're seeing, you can just ask. It's perfectly okay. You don't have to wait till the end of our meeting. So if there's any question concerning a film or images or something you don't understand or want to know more, just ask me.
Če so kakšnekoli vprašanja, vprašajte, tudi vmes nič se bat, lahko tudi me prekinete in vprašate, če so kakšnekoli vprašanja z temi zadevami.
Besides, I have the feeling that many understand English, even my English.
Saj razumete verjetno, tudi moja angliščina, kaj ne?
The two films were produced by grandchildren of survivors. One case in France and now in Budapest, and they were produced with the help of families and also other institutions. And the two filmmakers, Mona Akache from Paris and Andras Salomon, they're usually very, very proud if these films are shown, particularly shown to pupils and students, because the title was Tell Your Children. I mean, it's kind of, he produced this film not to make money, not to get prestigious prizes, but to tell a specific story that many don't know. Now, who of you has been to Budapest? Why am I asking? If you walk, when you walk along the bank of the Danube, now it's not far from the Hungarian parliament, then all of a sudden you see on the bank, on the stones next to the river, there are about 80 to 100 shoes. Kind of, they're in the concrete, but they're out, shoes. And this is a memorial. It's to remember those who have been murdered in early 1945. And very often you see people coming there, putting flowers there. It's one of the, I think, finest and modest memorials for the victims of the Shoah we have in Europe. It's not pompous. It's very, it's calm. And among the shoes, and this is definitely one starts to cry, you have many children. Small shoes were worn by children. So it was a fictional film. He gave it a form with the filmic material as if you see a documentary, the style of the film, but it was fictional. But the event was not fictional. It's an event that still lasts in the memory of the Jewish community of Hungary, of the children and grandchildren of the Jewish community and some survivors. So if you ever come to Budapest, try to find these shoes next to the Danube River, close to the parliament. Now I ask you who has been to Budapest, and now another question. Who has been to Graz?
Kaj pa Graz? Poznate Graz v Avstriji?
Who has ever taken a flight from the Graz airport?
Ste mogoče kdaj leteli z letališča v Grazu?
Okay, it's very close. So you understand, I'm taking you from Budapest, from Paris, Budapest. Now I'm taking you to Austria, to Graz. During the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, you know, Slovenia, Steiermark, all these areas in Austria was one empire. Croatia and all the part of the Balkans. were part of Austro-Hungary, and during World War I, the empire still existed, and at the end of World War I, the Austrian Empire collapsed, and that's when the first Yugoslavia came into existence, and we slowly begin to talk about Slovenian history at all. Now, a young artist, performance artist, film artist from Graz, Lotte Schreiber, was always curious about the specific character of the area of the Graz airport and Thalerhof, a certain small village and settlement there, and she started to research after she found photographies from World War I. And this is a completely different style now of approaching history. Today we are moving or flying from Graz. It's modern, highways, airport, everything. But beneath this contemporary layer, this presence, we have another layer, history, past. And this past was forgotten. And with her film now, she tries to put this past, the relation between Austria, the Balkans, Austria and Slovenia, and other parts, on the map, on the filmic map. And I know no document, no history book that depicts what you are going to see right now, what she wants to tell us. This now is not fictional, it's a very short kind of documentary fiction. It has elements of both, but everything you hear that is quoting or you see is real, either today or in 1914. This is something, a style that any project in school or university level can produce. You don't need a film studio or specific material. You just need the archival material. You need the place, how it looks like today. And I don't have, this is not related to the Holocaust, of course, it's 1914, but it's related to camps, to irresponsible violence, killing people, discriminating against people, women, children, young and old. About 3,000 died there in this short period. And almost nothing indicates at the airport what this has been during World War I, not to speak of the Nazi Empire after 1938. And again, what is past, what is history, what is present, what should we be conscious of? And if you see these images, not far from the Slovenian-Austrian border, of course you immediately have other images in your mind that concern barbed wire and borders. So the topics that are related to this period, 1940-17 or 1940s, there's always something that should, let's say, should bring us towards the problems we have today, we have to face today. And then again you're asked, what's your opinion? How do I see this? This is something I can't say, well, it's not my concern. Well, this was a problem in the period of National Socialism, that too many people said, well, it's not my problem, I'm not Jewish, why should I care about the Jews? But then they came also for the Roma and Sinti, and then they came for the Democrats, and they came for the Socialists, and at the end they also came for the Catholics. So it's never an ending when a non-democratic system tries to establish a certain ideology, a certain concept of society and rule. And I want to transport you now from 1914 into today's school reality in many European countries. And I don't know whether you have read or talked about the problem that in a number of European countries there's a problem in schools with Muslim students. Not that there's a problem of Muslim students and pupils, but the schools have a problem. And usually this came out in France and Germany and Austria and Spain, in many other countries, are school pupils, girls, Muslim girls, allowed to wear a hijab, to wear a scarf. I don't know about your schools, whether you have Muslim students, whether there are Muslim students who are traditional girls who wear a scarf. This I don't know, but I know that there is a certain, let's say, discrimination against Muslims also in Slovenia, and there have been attacks. So it's kind of legacy, learning from the past, learning against discrimination, learnings in terms of showing, but not just showing, acting out tolerance and accepting the cultural other as belonging. Because Muslims belong to European society since the Ottoman Empire, for centuries and centuries. For centuries, Spain and Portugal were Muslim countries. On the Balkans, the Islam was one of the well-established religions, so it's nothing new. We had always in Europe the confrontation between Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, not always as confrontation. Sometimes it was a peaceful period, and each religion could learn from the other. And today, again, we are in a period of very strong confrontation. So I want to show you a film, and I'm now taking you from the Slovenian-Austrian border to Spain, to show you that all over Europe, we have the same problems. Yeah? It's not just we here in Slovenia or in Austria or in Dul, we have the same problems all over Europe. And if Europe doesn't find an answer, and the answer is to be given by you, by each individual, these answers have to be given, not just by governments. You can't wait for governments. Usually they're corrupt, they don't realize what's going on. The people themselves have to act, to enact democracy and certain values. Now, we are going to school right now, and we are entering a school building in Madrid, and the director of the school has a serious talk with one of the pupils, and excuse myself to the teachers who are present. Well, she doesn't come out very brilliantly, but we have to see afterwards how you react to this conversation between the school director and the pupil, please. The director, Xavisala, at this time, a young woman, she's living in Madrid, but she came from North Africa. So she is now doing this film about her own personal experience with discrimination. And, well, what do you think about it? I mean, we have seen examples of physical violence. And this film is an example for verbal, oral violence. And everything the teacher is saying is kind of hidden behind phrases of democracy, equality, and. But I'm asking you, which kind of discrimination is this school director enacting? What is she discriminating against?
So I believe that as long as there are wars around the world, as long as the big powers, Russia, China, the United Kingdom, the United States, allow these wars, as long as they allow, and as long as they don't prohibit this to be, they don't stop talking about it, and as long as the French Revolution slogan, the liberté, égalité, fraternité, is not realized in full, as long as there is terrorism, but as long also as there are camps around the world, there will be no heaven on earth. Only when a peaceful policy among all peoples is established also in all heads, when love is really true between the people, only then will it be possible for the mankind to go on to progress. And I believe that this is the only and the basic thing that should be taught in schools.
I think you should return to your job as a judge. I want to return to my question, because I'm very modest, and if all over Europe everyone accepts a Muslim girl to wear their hijab, I would be happy. I mean, we have to start on, of course, the general changes are needed, but we have to start on a very everyday level. Because I want to indicate something. Maybe you were just thinking when seeing this about Muslims and in Europe and about terrorists and everything. But this speech of the teacher, if my son, who's not religious, but let's say he would be there and would have yarmulke, a Jewish little cap, or my daughter would there be with a huge Star of David in gold or silver, this teacher may today tell the same thing. It's not just the Muslim girl, it's about discrimination of the cultural other. And at the end, she may say, well, we only accept those who have a cross hanging there, because this is majority culture. And this would be completely wrong. In our society, indeed I agree, it's égalité, fraternité, it's the ideals of the French Revolution, total tolerance and acceptance of the cultural other. That's what we need. And I think this starts in school. It starts in school when dealing with people from other religions, other traditions, other cultural, let's say, behavior. Not everyone is grown up in a Christian environment at large. I think in this film, now going back to the first example, the Suzanne and the father saving the girl, and she kind of giving this further to her grandchildren, the whole story. Or this little girl in Madrid, what will she tell her parents and her friends about the democratic school teacher and values they are teaching? But in reality, each and every one has to fight to keep these values, to enact them also in everyday life. Well, I would like questions or reactions if you feel like. Yes? I prefer the pupils, but you're an older pupils.
I'm admiring your work on memory. I'm a retired medical doctor and now active in translating. It happens that 3 of the books that I have on my desk talk about forgetting, oblivion, and work in memory. I can talk to you about that more specifically later. But the question is that, well, I recently met a well-educated person here who was unaware of the existence of the confinement camp on the Isle of Zagreb, where Slovenian, Croatian, and Jewish prisoners were. I think that was a camp with one of the highest mortalities outside of the extermination camps in Europe. She was not aware of that at all, and she claimed to come from a patriotic family. So you're saying tell your children. In Austria, how do you do it? Is that done at schools? Well, what you're doing is admirable, as I said, but is this part of a program? Is this part of a schedule, of a curriculum?
Well, I would be happy if, let's say, Austria and other governments would really establish this part of historical education, of Holocaust education, with the help of the visual arts. But it's not done sufficiently in none of the countries so far. But there are initiatives like our Festival of Tolerance, the community center we are in right now, Jewish film clubs all over Europe, Jewish film festivals, and other film retrospectives that try to establish this part of Holocaust education all over Europe. It's always a question, of course, of funding. To give an example, the Jewish Film Club in Vienna, I'm director, we are trying always to approach schools and have classes to come to our screenings. At a certain point I realized that the younger generation of Austria is almost forgetting that one of the major concentration camps is on Austrian soil, Mauthausen. And I approached the ministry and said I would be ready to have there each and every August during the vacation time, holiday time, film retrospective with feature films, which are also entertaining, but they're relating to the Holocaust, to World War I, to the concentration camps. And now for 10 years I'm doing this, and the local population, families, are coming to see these films and discuss with me. And it's a completely new initiative, and sometimes, to tell you, it gives me the creeps. Outside the walls of a concentration camp, I'm showing movies. But the people are coming, I'm discussing with children. They ask me questions they wouldn't dare to ask at home. You know, it's a rural population, small cities. It's not Vienna or Linz or Ljubljana. So the camp you mentioned, I think if there isn't any film about this camp and the history, I don't know.
There are documentaries, yeah.
There are. If not, something should be done. Having educational mornings, you don't have to wait for a year or for 2 years. Have educational mornings twice a semester for pupils. I think that's here, the movie theater and the Jewish Cultural Center will be more than ready, you know, to offer this to the students in the schools in Ljubljana. But this needs a cooperation with the schools, and I would happily come. It's a beautiful city, and I haven't seen all the coffee houses yet.
Ja bih samo rekao nešto što vam je možda promaklo. Ja sam gledao ovaj mađarski film. Ovo je jedan od najstrašnijih zločina i najvećih spomenika ikada podignuti za žrtve Holokausta. Ovo na Dunavu. Ali ja stalno govorim nešto drugo. Ja molim mladež po cijeloj Hrvatskoj, evo sada i u Sloveniji, da se to više nikada ne dogodi. A gledajte, nije prošlo još ni 70 godina, a fašist jedan, takozvani Jobbik, obučen u crno, mađarski fašista, poljeva ovu ženu sa pišalinom. Kako se kaže pišalina?
Urin.
Urinom. Pardon. Sa urinom po glavi, niti 70 godina poslije. Šta to znači? To znači da se opet ponavlja. I da to ne smijemo dozvoliti. To je najstrašnije što nam se može dogoditi. Ne meni više, ali vama, novoj generaciji. I zato apelujem na vas da kad god imate priliku da govorite protiv takvih stvari, da dignete svoj glas. Hvala.
Thank you, brother. It was a wonderful final closing remark. I want to thank you all for your attention and, well, take some thinking, some images home and for discussion with your teachers. Thank you very much.
To je lep zaključek in upam, da boste tudi ta sporočila odnesli domov in se o njih pogovarjali s svojimi in za svojimi učitelji. Hvala.